Now, stay-at-home mums should get tax breaks to raise their children. That, at least, is according to a Tory MP.
Yes, Miriam Kate said that government plans to help only working mothers with childcare costs was so unconservative that it made her cry.
Let's talk to parenting vlogger Anna Cribb, who says being a full-time mum is hard enough. They shouldn't be pushed back to work. And journalist Julie Cook says stay-at-home mothers don't need tax breaks. Let's start with you, I guess, Anna, on this one. Why is it, do you think, that we should be... It's not rewarding stay-at-home mums, is it, but giving them a break?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a real shame that it's becoming so unaffordable to stay at home with your children and to make that choice. And I think, you know, the cost of living these days makes it a virtually impossible decision to make, but one that's really, really important. It's important for mums, and it's important for the family and the children, for mums to be able to choose, or parents to be able to choose to be at home if they want to. And I do believe we should be rewarding that choice. You know, it's a hard choice to make, and you are taking a knock financially. And I think we're all too much about pushing mums back to work sooner than they want to go, or sooner than the family actually needs.
Julie, what do you make of this? I mean, you can understand, can't you, in a cost of living crisis, it can be really, really difficult. Mums will feel like they have to go back to work.
Yes, I completely agree. And as a mother myself, I had to make that choice. I started working again when my children were 11 weeks old and 12 weeks old, so really early, and that was necessity. But I think this is a bit of an empty gesture, and I think it's too simplistic. I think, first of all, if you are a stay-at-home mum, you don't need help with childcare costs because you are doing the childcare. That's your role that you have chosen. But number two, the trouble is, as a society, is you have to change the whole structure to make that viable, not just give some tax breaks. Mortgages are based on two people's salaries now. Lifestyle is based on having two people's salaries. You know, it's far too expensive, as our other guest rightly said, for mums to even choose to do that. So I think it's kind of an empty gesture suggesting a childcare tax break when that's not enough. It's really not enough. But those women have chosen to do the childcare, and that's the point.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, Anna, isn't it? I mean, it's, you know, you can't encourage people to stay at home with something that isn't actually going to, you know, add to the finances a great deal. You know, so most people, it is absolute necessity that both parents are working.
I agree, but I do think, you know, I think there needs to be rewards for mums who want to be at home and who want to, you know, it can be really breaking in so many other ways to stay at home and choose to be a full-time mum. And to make it financially breaking as well is a really sad thing. You know, it shouldn't be based on whether it's financially viable for you to stay at home with your babies. You know, I found it a very, very difficult decision to give up my career and stay at home. It was something that I chose to do, you know, and 17 years later, my eldest was 17 yesterday, I'm still paying the price for making that choice financially. So I do believe that the government should be supporting mums that want to make that choice to stay at home. I think there needs to be more, and I think that Miriam has highlighted something that we need to look at here. You know, it has turned into a bit of a party political argument, you know, with talk of it being, you know, us going back to Thatcherism, but it's not about that. This is just about the family and supporting at-home families rather than outsourcing to childcare, which is a real shame so young, you know, and I completely understand some people have to do it. And I nanny myself, so you know, I do support other families who are going back to work, where both parents are going back to work, and I fully support them having time for their relationship as well. But I think it's really important that, you know, we are allowed to choose to have a parent home with babies and with toddlers. You know, I think that is healthy. I do think it's healthy for young children to have time at home with the family and with one caring parent.
And Julie, I mean, Anna just pointed there to Miriam Cates's comments, and Miriam Cates talks about it being unconservative, doesn't she? She says that women are making an investment in society by deciding to have children and stay at home and rear them, and that investment needs to be protected and it needs to be honoured. Can you see that argument at all?
I can see, yeah. I mean, I agree completely that a child's best place is with its mother. I mean, that's non-negotiable. I think everybody would say that. But unfortunately, in the last sort of 50 years, our society has shifted to such a degree that being a stay-at-home mum now by many, many women and men is kind of derided. And I don't think that's right, but it's kind of seen as a bit ridiculed, the easy way out. And I completely agree with our guest. It's not the easy way out. I mean, trust me, I found it very difficult. So I think it is the hardest job in the world. But the trouble is with the way our society has shifted, and as I mentioned, it being about 2 salaries now, and financially, it's also a cultural shift that I think will be very hard to come back from. And the freedom women get from going back to work can't be overlooked either.
Yeah, but that's a problem, Julie, isn't it? In terms of that cultural shift, doesn't that then move the focus away from the welfare of the children, the benefits to the children, onto the, dare I say, more selfish aspect of this is better for my career? And I don't want to blame that. I don't want to lay that just on women, because men could choose to stay at home and be the stay-at-home parent either. But for either parent, it becomes a bit more selfish, doesn't it?
I think it could be seen as selfish if you're in the position where it is a choice. You know, you can be a stay-at-home mum, or you can go back to work for your own selfish desires. But I think in most cases of families in this country, it is a necessity. You know, you can't pay the mortgage. Most families can't pay the mortgage with one salary. They can't run a car with petrol costs, do a weekly shop, all those things. So I think although the gesture is well-meaning, perhaps, and I say that, you know, as a politician, it is well-meaning for them, but I think it's non-workable because everything's so expensive. It's not just about choice. It's literally about living. You need 2 salaries, really, to live, unless you're incredibly well off. And those women can choose to be stay-at-home mothers because tax rate doesn't matter. It's, you know, you're earning enough to survive anyway because perhaps your husband or your partner is well off enough to support you.
I mean, Anna, this isn't only about a financial decision. I mean, Julie touched upon there that word of being ridiculed. Do you think that stay-at-home mums are respected for staying at home and deciding to be a mum as their full-time job?
No, not at all. I think society has changed. I think, you know, working mums are celebrated so much more than the mum who stays at home with the children. And it is a tough decision. I think it's something that we need to reward. It's something, you know, it's a very, very difficult decision to make. And, you know, one of the words which the other guest used was freedom to go back to work. You know, and what we don't have so much now is the freedom to be able to stay at home with your children. You know, and we're not asking a question here about whether it's the better thing to be at home with your children. You know, it's giving that choice, and I feel less and less women are given the choice to stay at home with their children and to prioritise family and the home. And, you know, we need to give that choice back. So there needs to be rewards. There needs to be the ability to choose to stay at home if that's what we want to do. You know, it shouldn't just be the freedom to go back to work. It should be the freedom to be able to stay at home with the children.